So, my guest tonight, and this is the third time under my jurisdiction that you've been here, Brian Gerish. Welcome along to the show.
Thank you to the team.
And I must point out that how you get in touch is by texting us, and that's on 86686. That's 86686. You type the word EDGE, E-D-G-E, you leave a space, then give us your name and message. And calls are charged at your standard network rate. So Brian, people are going to be chomping at the bit on some of the subjects that we've got in store tonight. In your mind, where's the best place to start? Shall we look at the recent events and what's been in the papers?
I think we've got to look at the current papers and what's appearing on TV, because there's so much happening. We've got massive banking crisis, we've got the euro, we've got talk of strikes on Iran, we've got general chaos with the UK borders. What we've got is chaos, and it's planned chaos. This is not accidental. This is the country being dragged into a pit.
And this is today's Daily Mail, so if I hold that up, there you go. As it says, staring into the abyss. Italy's economy in crisis, France under strain, and fears Britain could be dragged into a second recession. This seems to have been brewing since 2008.
Well, of course it was always coming, because the euro is a construct currency that was never going to work. You can't force nation states into a one-size-fits-all regime. But the key thing is this is a massive crisis, so they're talking about pumping more money in order to stabilise things, but they are not going to print enough money to stabilise. And of course we've got Angela Merkel talking about war in Europe, and we've got other people saying if we don't sort this out, we're heading towards war in Europe. This is incredibly serious stuff.
And I mean, might be an idea just to sort of take the overall complexion, and this is from a couple of our people on our Facebook site. Ian Wilkinson said, where does this fit into Iran and World War III? And Joanne Parkin noted that she had an awful day arguing with BBC watchers who believe we should attack Iran, all because of what the BBC have been saying. Yeah. So, and she asked the pertinent question, what war have Muslims ever started? So it does beg the question. Certainly in recent history, this is not something that.
I think we need to separate some things out. But I mean, if we've got to stay focused on what's happening in the background, and the key thing happening in the background is that we have a group of people heavily funded by the international banking fraudsters who are trying to create a one-world government. Right. And we've got the trilaterals trying to push the world into three blocks: the Americas, Europe, which includes Africa and Russia, and then we've got Asia. And so this is the backdrop. This is not about a movement towards a world war. This is about regime change. And what we have seen is a movement throughout the world to get control of regimes, Libya being the last one. And of course Iran at the moment is apparently so dangerous to the West, not because of weapons that it may or may not have, but because Iran is not participating in the world banking cartel. Right. And so the real danger of Iran is they are not playing ball in the monetary system. Therefore we've got to change their regime. But people are talking about an attack on a nation state as if it was a war game. This is very dangerous stuff, and of course Cameron is stirring the pot. This man is a dangerous warmonger.
Harsh words there, and I mean, a lot of people are actually going to say, well, who is going to be able to afford this war? There is no money in the kitty, so where's the money going to come for waging such wars?
Well, what we always see is that there's always money in the kitty when it comes to killing people. We can't treat them in hospitals, but we can provide guns and bombs and bullets. But of course David Cameron is such a con man, excuse the pun on that, but because he is not going to commit British forces, because there's no British forces left for that type of overseas mission, what Cameron is going to do is drag American military forces into that war, and he is deceiving both Israel, in my opinion, or Israelis, and he's conning the Americans. So Cameron, who stands up as the tough public schoolboy calling for a strike on Iran, which is what he's doing, he's a complete fraud, isn't he? Yeah, it's going to be American casualties, and I said that for Alex Jones. The danger is American casualties.
And I mean, if we touch back on the actual problem we have in terms of what's going on, Guardian today, into the danger zone, Euro crisis spins out of control. So not only have they got their problems in the USA, but here we are. And they're making no bones about it, that while it looks like the euro is dead in the water.
Well, they're in a no-win situation, because they're either going to carry on inventing money to blow into the black hole, or the thing's going to go down.
Yeah.
But what is disgraceful is that nobody is really saying, why are we involved in this mess? Who brought us close to the European project, the European Union project? Yeah. We were brought into this project by treason, and now we're seeing the fruits of it, which is total chaos in every country that's got involved with the European Union. And most dangerous, if I can say it, is under the surface. You can see that the true power base is emerging. So you've got Germany saying we the Germans need to go it alone. The French, as usual, are clinging to the coattails of the German powerhouse. And it's Germany at the moment that we've got to watch.
And some of the bizarre things I've been hearing people say is that, well, we don't have to worry about the euro, we've still got the British pound, and thank goodness for that.
Well, that's true, but why don't we take a totally different angle and say that in reality there is no financial crisis, because the whole of the debt is based on money which was created out of nothing by the bankers, and national debt is not owed in the true sense of the word. To get rid of the debt, we simply cancel it overnight. Who loses? The international bankers. Then we start to print our own money nationally, and we carry on, and we run the country properly. The scam at the moment is that you've got Cameron and George Osborne in particular saying that we've got a national debt. A national debt to who? Private banks? It's outrageous. It's fraud on a massive scale.
So I think now time to start having a look at some of the cast of characters here and expand on some of the matters in hand. I wonder if we can have a look at image number 107. Now, this is Liam Fox and Adam Werrity, and they note in this a newspaper article, 17 years apart, but they dress like twins, and good Lord, yes, what a pair they look in that photo as well. So we've heard a lot about this scandal involving these two gentlemen. People say they are friends, but are careful to watch their words on anything else they say about them. And so, Brian, you're reckoning that there's actually a big story being hidden by this salacious gossip, if you like.
Well, they're friends, and they obviously like each other, and one's been a best man, and what they do together, that's up to them. But I think that this this sort of smokescreen on the top is being used to hide what is really important, that we have a government minister who went round the world with a gentleman, Werrity, who was making out that he was an official part of the government. They were having meetings with people, and the British public don't know who they were meeting with, what they were talking about. And when you dig into it, the thing gets very dirty. Now, some of the information came out in the mainstream press. The Telegraph and the Daily Mail printed quite a lot of information, but the picture was still buried in the text. You had to really read what they were talking about in order to find out what was going on. And what is actually at the bottom of it is that we have people like David Cameron as a person and the Tory party funded by major international arms dealers. Now, this to me is the real story. Why has
I assume you can sort of put this sort of in black and white for us.
It's already appeared in the press. What I'm going to talk about this evening, I haven't had to do a lot of work for, because it appeared in the press. But what the press does is obfuscates it, blurs it all, so that the public don't really understand what's being talked about. So I don't have a problem. I'm simply going to say, if we start to look at this problem in a different way, we suddenly realise how serious this is. And to see Fox in Parliament, it was like he was thanking somebody for the award of an Oscar. It wasn't, I have breached security for my country, I've betrayed my country. It was, I'd like to thank everybody for supporting me. It's outrageous.
Well, image 108 now. Now, this is what I described as a scandal matrix, and this is going to be very difficult for people to view, but essentially what we have there is your contention that the tentacles of this affair go all over the place.
Well, all we've done is taken the text and the information in the text and plotted it out so that you can see the relationships between things. And if viewers probably be a bit frustrated because they won't be able to read the text, but this is going to become public in due course anyway. But there are a number of areas that didn't come out properly. So if I take you through, we've got Fox connected with Werity. Werity was involved with Atlantic Bridge, which was a charity. The first thing is the charity gets struck off.
So, I mean, we do have a close-up of that segment of that. That's 101. So if we have a look at 101, this is the actual Atlantic Bridge part of the matrix. So what is Atlantic Bridge? What are we doing?
Well, it was a charity which supposedly was working to improve relations and links between America and UK. Why we need another charity, I don't know. But the key thing is it was struck off by the Charity Commission for its political activities. Now, if we've got a government minister involved in political activities in a charity, what were those activities? And the little picture there is showing Fox at a dinner in Washington, where he's obviously talking to a very high-level American serviceman. But in the background, you had a guy called John Falk who was linked in. He's a lobbyist on defence in the US, and there are also links through to Blackwater, which is now called Z, which you may know, but the average person doesn't realise that you're dealing in massive international arms companies and security companies. So the question is, what was discussed while Fox was overseas for Atlantic Bridge? And we need to know, because he was there talking. And
on that diagram as well was Matthew Gould, who's the UK ambassador to Israel. So what can of worms does that open?
Well, I'm really going to say we'd like to know, because he was there involved with the Werity organisation, and we don't really know what his involvement was. But isn't it interesting that he's there connected through, it would seem, to a Conservative, Mr. Fox, but his personal background is that he was a private parliamentary secretary to David Miliband. And one of the things that I'm always stressing is that the party system is puppet show. These people are working together behind the scenes. So I'm not saying too much, but it appeared in the paper. What was Matthew Gould's connection? Why is it that we don't know? Why is it the BBC digging into this? Of course, they don't want to, because if they dig in, some dirt starts to come to the surface.